Real quick before we get into today's video, just want to thank the people over on Patreon who have taken the time out to help support the channel, and just got to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your support. Once I start offering memberships and figure out what to offer for memberships on this channel, I'll start adding the names of YouTube members as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the review. Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys a review for Boruto episode 177, and episode 177 is done and in the books, and I'm gonna say right now, I enjoyed the episode. That didn't cap or anything. I enjoyed the episode, and part of the reason why is, yes, the Easter eggs for the manga. Like I said earlier, this episode was gonna have Easter eggs that directly connect and set up the next arc that is coming in 2 episodes, by the way. But the other thing that I said is also this episode had potential, and sure enough, this episode did cash in on it, because what this episode actually did was it gave us a little miniature training arc with the next generation, and that's been one of the things that I've seen in terms of just the reaction from different people. Once you've actually seen the previous generation training, if it's done in a way to where it feels rewarding, people are okay with it. So like the episodes with Cho-Cho where she was training to learn the butterfly jutsu, people weren't necessarily happy with episodes like that because it was more so for a vain reason. But in this case, you see the delicate balance of the child wanting to live up to the parents' expectations and the parent tampering their own expectations for the child, trying to not push their child down the path they want them to go on, but also allowing the child to choose for themselves. So I thought that that was a nice balance between the old generation and the newer generation. I thought that that was very well done. I thought that was a good running theme right there. I also like how they did a major tease with the whole system for the sensory system and the importance of the scientific ninja weapon team department, and with the whole theme of having unregistered chakra be able to come into Konoha, and the fact that there are flaws in that system. So I like that right there. I like that right there. And I also like how this episode addresses a major concern that a lot of people had. A lot of people worried, like, hey, are they retconning what happened in Naruto? Did they forget that the village already had a sensory system? They make it clear there was a sensory system before. This is a different system. It's the same type of format. However, this is going to be all automated. So I like how they're incorporating technology into it, and kind of goes back to an age-old question, right? So sometimes you have people that say we need to hold on to traditions and not necessarily change our traditions, because if it worked in the past, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But then you also have people who say progress for the sake of progress sake is also important. And so I like how you see here how the Naruto world, in particular Konoha under Naruto's leadership, they're leaning fully into the whole thing of look, we have a scientific ninja weapon tech department. The sensory system, it worked in the past. Things have gotten very lax, but you know, we do have this situation with these Kara people, and in particular these outers. We need to start making changes and get into preparation. So I like that right there. I like that in that response there, Naruto still allowing the people from the village to have their own civil liberties, and yet at the same time what Naruto's also doing is he's beefing up the security in ways that don't necessarily disrupt everyday life. So I thought that that was a nice balance right there. I thought that was nice. That was a good leadership call by Naruto. I like how, again, this is directly setting up stuff in the manga. And speaking of stuff in the manga, I feel like now is the time I can finally say this, because I've kind of held back on this, but given the fact that they've changed the intro and they've shown you Kawaki's face. Kawaki's face is the very first face that you see in the intro, that shadowy figure that we saw in the past. I like how they showed that. I like how they also showed the faces of the Kara members before. Their faces were they were a little blurry. You could make out some of the features, but in this intro, if I'm not mistaken, you see Delta's face more clearly when she's fighting against Sarada. You also see Kashi and Koji and Amato, and you see Boro's face a lot more clear in this. So this right here, I really feel like, again, because we're getting a new intro in, I believe, January, I think that they're definitely telling us, like, look, we're getting to the full manga material, because like I've said before, once we get to the Owl arc, they have no choice but to move directly into the next arc that happens after that. Now, whether or not they take advantage of the numerous places in the Kawaki/Car arc that takes place after the Owl arc, where there's a lot of opportunity for transition episodes that add to the actual story, whether or not they take advantage of it, which they probably will. I mean, this is the same studio that gave us 80 episodes of filler before we got to Naruto and Jiraiya going to train. That took place during a 3-month time skip in the manga, and they gave us 80 filler episodes, so I wouldn't put it past Studio Perio at all. But the important thing is Kawaki is coming, and people have been waiting on that. But what I really like here is how after failing and showing like, hey, I've got some of the basics, but I'm not really good at this. You have this moment where he's doubting himself, but then you also see him overcome that doubt. And what I like here is how through the inspiration of Shikadai and through the inspiration of Sai, Inojin figures out like, I can combine my Super Beast Scroll Jutsu with the sensory jutsu. And by doing something like that, I'll be able to extend my range. And so you see him compensating for the fact that he isn't as good as his mother. And so I like that aspect right there. And I also like how multiple times throughout this episode, you see how the various characters are constantly bringing up Ino. And I like how Inojin, he gets a little bit of salt thrown back at him. Because I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was Boruto episode number 2. I think it was episode number 2 or it was episode number 3 where Inojin was just talking a lot of trash to Boruto, calling him the son of the Hokage and just kind of talking sideways to him. And for Boruto, that was something that Boruto struggled with very early on, which is living up to expectations of being the Hokage's son. Well, in the case of Inojin, he feels it when it comes to Ino because he sees Ino in her natural element. So like he said in this episode, he's so used to seeing Ino in the flower shop. And you get this moment where he's watching Ino and she's calling all the shots and he sees her, a different side of her. He sees a different side of her. And what I like here is that Inojin realizes that there's more to his mother than he actually understood, and he can never live up to actually being on the same level as her. So in that instance right there, Inojin and Boruto, they kind of parallel one another, and I thought that that was very good. I thought that was very good writing there. Now, the other thing I'll definitely say here though is I like how, and I don't like, so it's like a split bag here. I like how you see how Inojin is looking and he's like, wait a second, is my mom really that good of a sensory? But I also don't like that because we're seeing a running theme here to where this new generation, they know parts of what happened, but they don't know the full story of what happened during the 4th Great Ninja War. They don't know the full legacy of their parents. And so that's something that's always kind of peeved me a little bit, but I understand why aspects of it will be classified information that they wouldn't actually get until they became older or until they moved up in the actual ranks. I can understand parts of that, but I understand the need to protect a child's innocence. So that's a very fine line right there, and I think that that's interesting because that's something that Konoha has always done. Because if you really look at it, Sasuke, Sakura, Naruto, they didn't know that Kakashi was a hero during the 3rd Great Ninja War. It wasn't until later on that they got that information. So I definitely think that that's something that they just do to protect the innocence of the child, and that's what I said I'm okay with it, but I'm also kind of not. And the reason why is like I'm not the hugest Ino fan, but side note, Ino was looking like a goddamn snack in this episode. Shit, man, I'm not even an Ino fan like that. Like I've said before, I think Hanabi has the hottest design out of all of the old generation that have had their glow up. I think Hanabi got the best design, but god damn it, Ino looked like a fucking snack, dude. Ino could fucking get it, man. No wonder Sai got all up in that thing and it was just wet and juicy. My man couldn't pull out. Like now I'm understanding this shit. God damn, man. It wouldn't be right if I didn't slip something like that in there, man. Pun intended. But yo, on the real though, man, like the reason why it kind of got to me a little bit was Ino had a moment during the 4th Shinobi World War where it was a huge underrated aspect of her character, and it just showed you that like when it came to her skill, Ino was gonna be a fucking beast. So during the Fourth Shinobi World War, you had a moment where I believe it was after Inoichi died, Shikamaru told Ino to connect him and connect all the members of the alliance together, and Ino does that shit by herself. That was absolutely underrated right there. That was a huge feat because she did something that her father required technology to do. During the war, you saw her kind of push through her limits, and so that kind of feeds into the line of what Ino says at the end of the episode, where she says that, you know, sometimes there's no, I'm paraphrasing, but sometimes there's no substitution for having a desperation moment and being forced to actually go through your limits yourself because the situation requires it. And I like that moment right there, and I do like how they kind of built up that scene by having Inojin actually sense the presence of another shinobi inside the village. And the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear that is, okay, what jutsu are they talking about? Because I'm running through the various combinations, and my first instinct was, wait a second, so he could do a transformation jutsu and the chakra suppression jutsu, but the chakra suppression jutsu, just as the name implies, it just makes your chakra unable to be detected. It does not allow you to actually copy the chakra of somebody. And so that kind of threw me off for a second when they're talking like that. But I like how Shikadai just says like, hey, I've been memorizing the various entries in the bingo book, and you know, there is this one guy that does have that ability. And the first thing that goes to my mind right there is that, hey, this might be a card connection, which for the anime only fans, I'm telling you right now, if you see somebody mysterious, you need to immediately say, is this person a member of Kara? Again, if you've not seen my Kara explained video, I highly recommend checking that out because the organization is more complex than what you've actually seen. Again, a lot of people are making the mistake of calling this an Akatsuki ripoff. That's the furthest thing from the truth. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Akatsuki has more, it's on a different level right there. And so I say that to say those scenes where Inojin was teasing that, hey, there's somebody else in the village, that's very important. That's very important because this ninja sensory system, it has major flaws. And what I like here is that even in the next episode preview, they're showing you that. And so that's so fucking beautiful right there. That is so beautiful. And because I know what's coming in the anime, because I know what's coming, because I know what arc they're doing next, they're doing the Owl arc, I'm absolutely excited for you guys to actually start seeing the drastic tonal shift. This is going to be very good right here. This is going to be very good. Even in the next episode preview, there was a little bit of foreshadowing in there. Like it was one of those things where it's just like, I can't believe that they did that, the symbolism, but that's going to be one of those times where people are going to go back to that scene and they're absolutely gonna lose their shit. Like I like this. Again, the Easter eggs were good, the miniature training arc was good. This was a very simple episode, and yet it was also one that, you know, I enjoyed in terms of getting payoff and seeing Inojin actually have to train. However, I want to know from you guys, how do you guys feel about the episode? And my episode question to you guys is, I got two episode questions. So the first one is do you think that they need to actually teach the new generation more about the exploits of the older generation, or do you think that information needs to be classified and given out as they go through the actual ninja ranks? And then the next question that I have for you guys is, and how do you guys feel about this very fine line that Ino walked of having expectations for a child, but also allowing her child to walk his own path and choose his way forward, even if it's something that she herself does not want for her child? How do you guys feel about that? How do you feel a situation like that should be handled, where you see a child has a gift but needs to actually work on it in order to bring it out, but that's not necessarily something the child enjoys? Do you push them down that way for their better good, or do you allow them to walk their own path? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.